What's up, NWB family? We are back in the basement because the gym is closed today, so I figured I'd go and visit the roots where it all started. My longtime subscribers remember this place very, very well, where all the first videos came from. So arms, I don't really train arms too much anymore, as in I don't really put a whole lot of focus into them. They do not have their own day dedicated to them, and the only training they do get is at the end of a full-on workout, usually a push day or a pull day, in which I'll generally only use one exercise, two at absolute most. Generally about 3 sets total, even though it'll call for 5 sets if you're following my exact program. This is because I've built my arms up enough to the point where they overpower my shoulders, and obviously my shoulders are a weak point. I need to really bring them up. The thing is, my arms are not a genetic strength like most people think they are. My arms genetically are inclined to hold the most body weight during my off season, so when I'm bulking up and I'm adding body fat and water weight like I am right now in between competing, my arms really do swell up. And it'll create the illusion that they're way bigger than they really are. But unlike my back, unlike my legs, they're not a genetic point of strength. When I began working out, I was 14 years old. I was 104 pounds at the end of the day, and I had 11.5-inch arms. I was tiny. It took forever to bring my arms up. I have these long monkey arms. It was hard to fill them out. What I did have genetically to my advantage was a peak, a bicep peak. When I flex my arm, I had a very short muscle tie-in. I have that gap between my bicep and my forearm. It makes my bicep short, and it makes the top pop like a peak. And that peak, that shape of the muscle, creates a nice illusion. That's what actually makes my arms look a lot bigger than they really are. They're about 18 inches exactly. In person, flexing, some people have actually told me they look bigger, 19. But size was never a genetic advantage I had with arms. I really worked hard to build it up, and I tried every possible training routine there ever was to build these arms up. You name it, I've tried it. So what finally worked for building size of my arms was to dedicate my own training day to just arms. Generally Friday at the very end of the week when I'm done training everything else, so they're not sore for chest day or for back day, biceps and triceps day. Now, you can play around with it and figure out which routine works better for you, as far as I've done it both, where I've done 3 bicep exercises and then I'd switch and do triceps afterwards, 3 tricep exercises. I've also done routines where I'll do a bicep exercise for X amount of sets and then I'll switch to a tricep exercise and then I'll go back to biceps and then triceps until I'm done with the entire workout. But the bottom line is, do no more than 3 exercises for each muscle group. Biceps are a tiny little muscle. They're easy to overtrain. Triceps are as well. You don't need to put a whole lot of time into them. The questions I get tend to be, I'm doing 5 sets of this, I'm doing 10 exercises of this, they won't grow, they won't grow, they won't grow. Here's what it is with biceps and triceps that I realized that finally helped me bust through that plateau and make them grow. They are a muscle, just like everything else, just like your chest, your back, your legs. Do you sit there with your chest, back, and legs and try doing 20 slow and controlled, perfect little dainty reps with a moderately light weight? No. You get under some big ass weight and you explode them out to hit that overload, to really blast you, get yourself into gear. That's what you want to do with your arms. Treat them like any other big badass muscle. 3 exercises for biceps, 3 exercises for triceps. Do no more than 3 sets for each one. At very most you can do 5, but you probably won't even need that if you're doing it correctly. And finally, the most important point of making your arms grow is heavy ass weight. Throw some weight on there. Way too many times, way too often I see people in the gym worrying and stressing about the wrong thing. Form. Everyone's all about form. When you're just learning how to do an exercise, yes, form's important. You don't want to hurt yourself. You want to make sure you activate the muscle completely and accurately. So if you're a beginner, yes, work in your form. But I'm talking to you folks that have been in the gym for a while. You know your way around the gym. You know how to actually work and feel a muscle now. Don't sit there worrying about putting your back against the wall and making sure there's not an inch of movement on your body or elbows. If you need to use a little bit of tiny momentum, controlled momentum I call it, as in no, you're not just literally throwing it up there and letting gravity and leverage catch itself up there. No, that's not a good curl. But if you need to keep yourself tight, you're keeping your diaphragm tight, butt out, chest up, and your elbows are still pinned in, shoulders are retracted, and you need to just get a little bit of a sway in there, just a tiny bit of a sway, think about what's really happening. That's not taken away from your arms. And it's not going to kill your back if everything's tight and controlled. You're breathing and you're in control of your sway. Again, you're not yanking it back and just praying to God that it goes up in the air and you can catch it. It's a very controlled sway. You're not going to hurt your back like that. And it's not going to take away from your biceps. Even if I'm swaying a good amount like this, look at my actual arm. Pretend my body's not there and look at my actual arm. Still full stretch of the bicep, still full contraction at the top. And if you're using a heavy weight, you're going to be using every ounce of those deep muscle fibers to still bring that bad boy up. And finally, once you get that weight down, remember this. Small muscle groups, need a lot of TLC, tender loving care. So really focus on the very top squeezing contraction of that rep. Right when it gets to the top, curl and flex it in, and then let it down real slow. The negative part of the movement, the way back down from a rep, is always the most important in weightlifting because that's when you get the most muscle fiber tears going on. However, on biceps, I cannot stress it enough because they're such a small little muscle group. Let them down real slow. That's what really built it up. Heavy weight, treating them like a real muscle group that can take a beating, not being afraid to get some energy and momentum in there like we do with any other exercise to a very safe and controlled extent. You still want to be safe and controlled. And then, of course, squeezing at the top and a slow negative on the way back down. So what I do is, again, 3 exercises for biceps, 3 for triceps. I like basic free weight compound movements. I don't spend too much time on cables except for warming up my joints perhaps and maybe just a quick little burnout. So for biceps, we're going to start off with straight barbell curls. This is my absolute favorite exercise for biceps. I like the straight bar much better than the easy bar. The way your wrists are straight will actually help allow it to hit both heads of the bicep. Your bicep is split up into 2 different heads. The closer your hands are together, the more of the outer head of that bicep is going to work. The wider apart your hands are, the more of the inner head of that bicep is going to work. Keeping your hands nice and neutral like this, not pivoted inward, supinated outward, it's going to help hit both heads nice and easily, and you're going to really blast the biceps using a heavy weight, moderate rep. So we'll start with a good weight. Don't be afraid to go in the low rep territory, even though it's biceps. 8 reps, 6 reps, I've even gone down to 4 reps before. Make sure you blast it. Most of the time, it's your own mental intimidation that's going to stop you from curling a certain weight. I guarantee you, if you get over that mental hump, you'll be able to curl a lot more than you ever believe you can. Deep breaths is key. Everyone teaches you to breathe in deep, inhale deeply, exhale deeply, because it's safe. And true, that is safe. You're less likely to pop something and get a hernia doing that. What I actually think is more mind-catching is the fact that doing that will allow you to get more reps and blast through that weight much easier. Try it. You'll feel less winded, you'll get more reps out. But at the very top of that rep, when you come back down, control that bitch. And then at the very bottom, when you're like, damn, this is heavy, I can't do it anymore, stop. Take a big-ass deep breath, drive those elbows in towards your side, and curl that bad boy up again. Get past that mental plateau and I guarantee you, you'll nail it. Okay, so we finished heavy barbell curls with a straight bar, right? Roughly around 8 reps, 3 sets total. Make sure you warm up nice though before you do it. Biceps are a small muscle, really easy to pull them. You don't want a bicep popping on you. So the next exercise is the second exercise, but the final exercise for just straight up biceps alone. This one you can use slightly higher reps in, but I'm not talking much higher, 10 reps maybe. And again, once you get this down, you can even go down to 6 reps if you're ready for it and you feel like it benefits you more. Again, everyone responds differently to rep ranges and weight. However, this one you can focus a lot more on hypertrophy. Barbell curls definitely was hypertrophy, but there's a lot more strength too, and it's really hitting those deep, thick muscle fibers. So check this out. This is going to be some sort of a preacher curl. This is going to really, really isolate the arm. It's going to pop that elbow out, make sure your triceps flat against the surface, and it's going to help you get full stretch and contraction of the bicep. It's amazing. What you want to do is make sure your wrist is supinated outward, so pinkies twisted up towards the ceiling like this. It's going to really activate the inner head of that bicep right there and build up huge guns. You can do this on virtually any angle. It can be a regular 45-degree preacher curl if you want. It can be straight up and down 95-degree angle. That's called a spider curl. Those are one of my favorites. It can even be a machine. This is the one time where machines and cables are good to go. So check this out. Good 10 reps or so. Squeeze at the top. Push that pinky up towards the ceiling. Your hand's going to even drop a little bit behind your biceps for a great stretch and contraction. Right back down. Okay, lastly for biceps, we want to focus really on the outer portion of it and even bring a little forearms into the game. We're going to do a hammer curl, but a variation. So a regular hammer curl is side by side, straight up and down. And now we're going to actually bring your elbow out to the front of you, pivot it up to your opposite pectoral. These are called pinwheel curls. You want to make sure you're doing it right. So everything's retracted still. You're still upright like a soldier. You're simply bringing your whole hand, your whole arm in front of you now. Elbow out in front of you, like you're holding onto a towel for somebody, right? That's how you want to be. You want to make sure the elbow stays pinned in one position. Again, it may look like you're using bad form, but if that elbow's pinned in one position, this arm's not moving, it's staying at a 90-degree angle, gonna get a great contraction, great negative on the way down. Don't be afraid to go low reps here. Strength is key here, build it up. This is a huge mass builder for my arms, and it's really honestly what I put on the sides for my biceps. Heavyweight, 6 reps. So I start off with a lighter weight, and I do not alternate hands. Alternating gives each bicep a quick second to rest, and we don't want to do that. We want to absolutely fry this bicep. So nice controlled sets to each bicep. Keep that elbow pinned in front of you. Don't pivot it back in between each rep. Keep it in front of you at all times. Drive up. Again, focus on each muscle here. You don't give your chest a break with every single rep and the bench press and go work another muscle, do you? No. You keep pushing those reps out until your chest is fried. So we're doing the same thing with each bicep. Some days I stop at 60 pounds, keep it nice and clean. Some days I'll go heavy into the 80 pounds or heavier, and I'll do my last set as an explosive power set. For me it's a little ugly, but I promise you it's what really pushed that size into my biceps like no other. So ugly or not, it works. Think of Olympic lifting. It's explosive. You add a little bit of power training into there. As long as you're squeezing it at the top and controlling it on the way back down, it doesn't have to be a slow tempo negative. As long as you're keeping that muscle flexed and you know you're resisting on the way back down, it's still going to be tearing the fibers. So don't worry about how clean the form looks or doesn't look. Try it. If you can still stay in control of it enough to where you're feeling it, it'll make amazing gains for you. Again, I'm talking to seasoned lifters or at least lifters who have been in the gym for a while. If you're brand new, stick at a weight that you can still do nice and cleanly. Remember, you want to make sure you have that mind-muscle connection completely before you move on to riskier things. You want to make sure you're activating and feeling the correct muscle working as you're training. I don't know if you guys can see it, the 80 pounder is so rusty, it actually left rust on my chest now.